On June 17, my first game Leo the Square was released on Steam. It's a minimalist 2D platformer focused on level design and atmosphere. In this video I want to talk about the difficulties I faced on the way to release, explain how I approached game development, and at the end I will share how the game is doing in terms of sales. Even before I started development, I wrote down some goals I wanted to achieve during the process. I wasn't aiming to make a hit or change the industry. My main goal was simple: to release a complete game on Steam, and I did it. Other goals supported this one: learning how to build levels, designing mechanics, adding controller support, cloud saves, achievements, and understanding how a developer account on Steam works. Overall, I just wanted to understand the process of launching a game. I also planned the project to be small, just to make sure I could actually finish it. Now I have a complete game in my portfolio, and that feels great. I can try something more ambitious later. At the beginning, I read Jesse Shell's book on game design, watched YouTube videos, and listened to GDC talks, all to learn how to plan development the right way and avoid common mistakes. In the end, I realized one thing clearly: you won't learn level design by reading books or watching lectures, no matter how many you go through. You learn by making levels. The same goes about game development. After the theory, I wrote a small design document. I described the concept, listed references, explained the gameplay elements, and noted which features I could realistically implement. Overall, I planned it fairly well. The only thing I will do differently next time: set a release date from the start, because that's a great motivator and keeps the scope realistic. Then development began. I started by coding all the mechanics described in the concept. Right away I will say, don't spend too long working on mechanics in isolation. I tested everything on a dummy level instead of actual levels, which mean I worked for 2 months with not really knowing what the game's levels would feel like. It's one thing to describe a concept on paper, and another to implement it in a real environment. If you work on mechanics and levels side by side, it's easier to keep things consistent and manageable. You will also stay more flexible and open to new ideas. Once the core systems were done, I started building levels. That's when I realized that level design is just as hard as coding, if not harder. It takes constant testing and thinking. It's mentally draining, but it's also very rewarding, especially once I get into the flow and started making levels almost every day. I will remind myself and you that it's better to leave space for new mechanics during level design. That way I design my mechanics with lightning bolts. When you activate these bulbs, and then you can see where to go. Of course, when you implement new mechanics during development, that has to be done carefully and keep the game consistent. Next phase was a playtest with friends, and it was super useful, and also it was the first time I saw someone actually playing my game. Before that, I worried that they will find it boring and quit halfway, but they enjoyed it. What made me happiest was seeing them genuinely trying to beat the levels. That felt amazing. The development process doesn't seem that hard on paper. You sit down and work on what you can at the moment. The problem was always about finding time and, even more importantly, the motivation. Even a simple game is made up of many small details. When you start thinking about all the things you need to do, you just don't feel like doing anything. The obvious fix is discipline and self-control, which isn't really my thing. So I kept delaying the project until I finally set a release date. And yeah, everyone says the hardest part of game development is finding time or motivation to finish it. But reading that is different from living it. Development demands real focus. After a full workday, I didn't have the energy to design interesting levels. My brain just was too tired. so I start working on the game in the mornings, before work. That way I consistently spend at least an hour on the game each day, usually even more. Next time when I plan a project, I will have a better idea of how long things really take. Then came preparing for Steam Next Fest. That's when I made a proper main menu, pause screen, added sounds and music, wrote a trailer soundtrack and released it. In general, made the game presentable. Next time I will make a shorter and more focused demo. Ideally I would launch the game soon after the Steam Next Fest, with a polished build and lots of wishlist already. Right now, if you don't have wishlist before the festival, you are basically invisible. Then came the final sprint, developing the second half of the levels and finishing the game. This part was easier since I just had to complete what I have already started. At that point I have 10 levels ready, 9 of which were in the demo. Originally I planned 27 levels, but I realized I didn't want to spend even more time on the game. I ended up with 18 levels. I think that's a fair number. For a $10 game that would be too little, but for a $5 game it works. I keep thinking about the story but couldn't clearly define what I wanted it to be. I had very limited options, no other characters, no easy conflict, so I choose to tell the story in small pieces, when players get a bit of narrative between certain levels. I picture text appearing on a dark background, but I didn't know what I actually wanted to say. Only when I sat down and started writing did the ideas come. It was exactly like building levels. Only when you start you can see what you're going through. I'm happy with how the story turned out. It's exactly what I imagined. A long time ago I started by writing some articles about movies or games, and when I'm reading them now I don't feel ashamed of what I wrote. I really tried to express what I was thinking back then, and I tried to do the same here. So in my next game I want to focus more on writing and build the game around the story. Right now the game has 34 sales, which is about $19. At launch I had just under 400 wishlists, which is very low. For a decent launch you need at least 5,000 or a 7,000 wishlist. That's when you might get good early sales and Steam starts showing your game to more people. For platformers like mine, and since it was my first game, it was almost impossible. I'm really happy I managed to finish development. I wasn't expecting to make some money. Still, when I make something, I want people to see it. Of course, I would love for Leo to have more sales, more players, more people diving into it, but I'm grateful for what I have.
Leo the Square is a very short but very sweet minimalist platformer playing Leo the Square.
And Leo the Square launched. It launched today. It launched today at noon, my time. And I just got back. And I'm like, I gotta go get it. Gotta go get it, gotta go play it.
Making a game is the hardest things I ever done and the most fun one. The fact that I actually finished a game, it makes me feel good. It's an amazing feeling to know someone can buy your game at any time and experience something you made. I definitely want to keep making games. I would be super happy if anyone watching this tries Leo the Square for themselves. That would mean a lot for me.